Day one, WAATSA NFTs are currently profitable. 1B point, which costs 1K plus gas, is given 1,577 Icosa. That Icosa is currently worth 1023. So are you confirming as well? Like, do you think we're in profit now? Is it safe to say? Does it depend on the price fluctuations? Like, what's the story there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting milestone. I think it's a milestone we all expected to pass up, but it is a milestone that should be recorded and we should talk about. In the long term, though, it's just a stepping stone to like where we're going, right? So, yeah, it's great that the value has gotten to that level. The yield has gotten the value to the level where it's essentially in profit. However, just based on what I was saying before, it's like how much of the of that entire pool could actually, exit and receive all their money back, right? Like a very small proportion of that pool would be able to do that. So this is just one of those milestones where maybe it incentivizes some more burning. Maybe that's what we saw from the larger WATSA holders burning their NFTs to try to get some of their money back or whatever. Maybe that's spurring some other sort of burn that we just don't know about. But in the long term, it's just a milestone on the way of where we're headed.
Well, can you explain too? By the way, read it in Maxim's voice.
Only he can do
Day
that.
day one, Watts is currently profitable, and he's got like that backdrop of like that. And he has a great setup. I won't try to do it too much, but it just made me laugh when I saw that. Can you explain to? So you're talking about the liquidity may not be there to cash some of the bigger ones in. What can you just like? What does that mean? Like what situations would people be affected by that? And I guess how does it work when you're cashing in the WhatsApp?
Well, I think the easiest way to explain it is like, okay, so say you've got a WATSA and you want to exit. So you go onto your Icosa.pro website and you go ahead and you redeem your yield, which burns your NFT, and now you've got Icosa in your wallet. So then you would take that Icosa to something like Uniswap, right? And you would swap it for whatever token you want. Well, when you're talking about pairs and liquidity in the Uniswap protocol and other dexes that kind of aggregate many markets into one, like 1inch or CowSwap or whatever. They can only trade out with the pairs that actually exist and that are prominent. So if you're going into a coin that doesn't exist or isn't prominent, then it acts like a chain effect. So it goes from the highest liquidity. So say right now it's Hex, so it goes from Hex to Icosa to say you wanted 1inch or something. Maybe it goes from Hex to Ethereum and then Ethereum over to 1inch, or maybe it goes to USDC and then over to 1inch, right? But the initial point is that the largest liquidity pool that starts that chain of Icosa, which would be Icosa Hex, you got it, or Icosa USDC. There's a pool for that too, I believe. You've got to have enough on in the pool that's deposited for you to remove, right? So that you can give them the Icosa and you can take the other side and take it with you. In a lot of cases, like a great example is like a brand new token that has come out, and whoever the first person is that sets the liquidity, and that's the only trading pair. Like say they put in this token A, and then on the other side they make it paired with USDC, but there's zero USDC in the pool. You can't actually sell that token for anything, right? It's basically worthless. As soon as somebody comes along and puts USDC in that pool, now however much they put in, say they put in like 20 grand, now you can withdraw up to 20 grand and sell your tokens and get as much as 20 grand out before it basically goes to near zero on the price again. So you have to have enough liquidity in the other side of the pool in order to exit. So in the example of Hex and Icosa, I believe just off the top of my head, it was somewhere around like $30,000 or something like that on the USDC side that you could withdraw. And I'm sure there's more pools, so don't quiz me right now. But the point is if somebody like somebody that we're going to talk about maybe later on in the stream is trying to exit with like or enter with like $800,000 or $1 million at a time, Like there's just not enough liquidity. It would run the price in one direction or the other so dramatically that they would eat a lot of impermanent loss, right? That like they'd move the price against themselves, I guess is a better way to put it. So it just gets insanely volatile.
Is that sort of an indirect fundamental for Icosa in a way too? Because the bigger player, kind of like in the Hex, there's not enough liquidity for the really big whales to dump a lot at a time. And then with the WAATSas too, if you own, a 10 B point, 100 B point, whatever it is, like the really big WAATSas, you just need to wait till there's more liquidity there, or you just can't cash them out for a long time. Is that feeding into like the positive price performance deal that we all love?
Yeah, I think it's important, like with any tokens, like kind of the health of their liquidity.
Lost your sound for a sec.
How about now?
Oh, you're back. You're back. Yep.
Okay. I think a healthy liquidity pool for any token is enough for small to medium sized players to get in and out without eating too much slippage. So like not like over 3.5%. If you're eating over 3.5% slippage on a $10,000 order, then I don't think it's a very healthy pool. But on the other end, if there is way too much liquidity, then you're just not going to get a lot of price movement, right? So, and you're essentially rewarding the large players from dumping on everybody's heads. So you do want there to be some sort of a penalty to pay if a large player wants to come in and just try to dump the market to zero. So if there's a low liquidity and they come in and they sell and they extract all of that USDC on the other end, right? Because they're trying to get out. The slippage to the downside, they're going to get beat up pretty hard on. And then all the other benevolent whales in that ecosystem will just sit there at the bottom and just pick up their order for pennies, right? And that kind of sets the tone. So I think the liquidity is very healthy for Icosa. I think getting in and out with $10,000 is no problem. And if you want to go in and do like 50, 60, 70, 100 grand, I think that's when you're going to start to see that slippage that may make it untenable. But when you're this early in, like a token 6 months old, right? Essentially, you don't want a ton of liquidity. You really don't. It's just too early on. Just enough for the small to medium sized players to get in and out without eating too much slippage is basically what I was saying.
And with the WAATSas too, what would happen if there wasn't enough liquidity? Would it just, maybe I was thinking the contract was doing something different with it, but would the transaction just fail when you went to like cash it in?
No, it would just show. Okay, so you're saying if I take a large WAATSA and I burn it and I obtain all that Icosa, and then I go to a market to sell that Icosa, is that what you're talking about?
Or I guess the question is, I guess the prereq is any size WAATSA NFT, could you turn it into Icosa regardless of its size? Is that possible?
Correct.
Okay. And so once you get the Icosa, and can you explain like where the Icosa comes from? And then maybe the pieces will start going together too.
Yeah. So that Icosa is minted into thin air, right? So you mint it. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere. When you go to burn it, then the algorithm, or not the script basically says you're allowed, or you should be allocated this much Icosa. It comes into your wallet. It's an automated process. It's always there. It's not going to go down or anything. So that, in that sense, there is zero slippage in obtaining your Icosa. What you do from there is up to you. Now, we may see a scenario where people choose to burn a huge WAATSA, and maybe they sell some of it on the market, and then the rest of it, they stake it in the Icosa pool. Like there's going to be options. There's definitely going to be options for anybody on what they want to do. But if you're in a game like WAATSA, and you're trying to burn and get out in a large amount within the first 6 months, that's going to cause a problem for sure.
Is there any WAATSA whale watches? I wonder if DevHugh is working on that, where you see, I guess we had the updates, but I wonder if there's a way to see that, this huge whale just turned it in, just minted a whole bunch of Icosa, and we wonder if they're going to dump, or they're going to put it up for LP to, silently get out over time. What kind of, I guess, what would be the best market signals to know, or to be able to get out of that based on us seeing what people are doing with WAATSas?
Well, first of all, those are definitely statistics that Hugh and I have talked about, like doing. And so we're definitely going to be like, I shouldn't say we. He's doing all the hard work, but we're definitely going to be putting up something, some added layers of visibility of what people in the WhatsApp pools are doing. But that takes time, and it's hard to say exactly which data points are going to be important and which data points aren't. It's kind of like the charts that I've been charting since day one. Like I had no idea, or still have real no idea, if these charts even are going to mean anything, right? It's just a matter of collecting data and just see what pictures they draw as time goes on, right? So
artwork is hard.
It is. Absolutely.
We have no art expectations of when that's going to be. You just remind me of the artwork.
But yeah, I mean, the long answer short, like as the market goes up, as the market becomes more bullish, there's going to be more liquidity coming in. And the first people who are coming in from outside of our ecosystem that are like, what is this WAATSA NFT? Like, where can I buy these? What's the underlying asset? Oh, it's Icosa. What's the price of Icosa? As people start to buy up that price again, and it gets closer to that ceiling price, Sloth did an excellent video a while ago, the end game, where it was showing that it was like, dude, if this hovers at the ceiling and there's enough liquidity holding it at that price, then we may see a very healthy kind of never have to sell hex kind of equilibrium that's going to generate a very healthy market. And at that point in time, that may be the time where if people want to take profits with some of their WAATSAs, that might be a good time to do it, right?
Yeah. I'm just so glad too that it was designed in a way that you want to hang on to it, because I think that prevents the minting in a lot of ways, or it incentivizes you not to, or to hang on to it longer, so you don't mint more inflation. So there's not more WAATSA, or not more Icosa to then sell. So I love the game theory and the way that Alex has thought about this too. It's just there's so many things when you dig into it. You're like, whoa, that makes a lot of sense. Whoa, that's amazing.